Our next guest is ESPN's Trevor Matich. We talked about earlier this morning what happened against Coastal Carolina and what now for the Cougars. Zach Wilson in the Heisman conversation, rankings, all of that with ESPN's Trevor Matich on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. All right, Trevor, the day has come. BYU lost the game, and it's a real disappointing one. BYU took the game on essentially Wednesday night, but officially Thursday morning. Raced out to the East Coast. It was this awesome story. Game day was there. And BYU goes down 22-17 to Coastal Carolina. The perfect season is over. What's your reaction to how the game played out? And then we'll get into what now for the Cougars.
Well, the game played out kind of opposite of how I expected. I thought that BYU's defense would struggle giving up some big plays because this Coastal Carolina offense is really hard to prepare for, even on a full week, much less on a short week, because it's a modern zone read with RPO passing style offense with triple option elements thrown in, which really complicate how you need to be in what gap, what fill, how you do it. And that often leads to big plays if you're not fully ready for it. But the BYU defense, the longest play they gave up was 20 yards. And they held Coastal Carolina to 15 points below their scoring average. So the defense, even though they gave up some long drives, actually did a lot better than I thought. It was the offense that struggled, especially with that swarming pass rush of the Chanticleers, and that really became the difference in the game.
Yeah, it was hard to swallow on a lot of fronts, and let's start to break down what you just said. So first off, BYU's defense. 22 points allowed feels like it should be enough to win. And BYU actually outgains the Chanticleers in the end because of the last drive. But the BYU defense on 2 days' notice didn't have the prep time, chose this. But like you said, it was a complicated offense, and it was tough to slow down the Chanticleers to the tune of 5.2 yards per carry. Where did that break down the most for you defensively for BYU?
Well, on first down, Coastal Carolina was able to get good positive yardage, which gave them a lot of third and manageable, and that's one of the reasons they averaged about 50% third down conversions. And that's something that I thought was actually good for BYU, strangely enough, because once again, they had long drives when they scored. They ate up a lot of clock, but they weren't able to rip off big plays. And I think the reason that there were so many first down positive yards and BYU didn't get as many negative plays against them as I thought they might is because when you are trying to work on a short week to get all your assignments squared away, all of your attention and preparation is on that. Be in the right place, be in the right spot. And I thought they did that pretty well. They weren't able to progress past that in preparation to how do we disrupt them? How do we get behind the line? How do we have them have a negative play on first down? How do we have different kinds of stunts or different kinds of looks that we can get them behind the eight ball, get them behind the chains? They didn't have time to do that in their week of preparation because the whole thing was on the basic fundamental of where do we stand, who do we look at? And on that level, they did really well. But I think if they'd had another 3 days of prep, they'd have been able to add that extra layer on top, which was these are the things we need to now do on top of being in the right spot to get behind the line and cause negative plays. There weren't many negative plays made by the BYU defense, but I don't blame them for that. I blame the short week for that. I think the BYU defense actually did a much better job than they're getting credit for.
Yeah, I look at 22 points and I go, hey, that's a winnable number, right? And you mentioned the average third down and distance. BYU 9.6, Coastal Carolina 4.9. Let's look at the BYU offense. I look at 17 points. This is a top 5 BYU offense going into the game. This is the number 1 offense in points per drive. This is an offense that I think should put up more than 17 points. So where was the struggle for BYU in trying to get yards and points?
There were two things. The first one was they gave up negative plays. There were too many tackles for loss. There was a really bad sack that knocked them out of field goal position at one point. And so the negative plays stopped some of their drives, whereas negative plays didn't stop the Coastal Carolina drives for reasons that we talked about. Coastal Carolina's defense also was working on a short week, but BYU's offense is less weird, I guess, to prepare for because they don't add that triple option element to it. And so I think they were able to just put their ears back and just go attack in a way that if BYU's defense had tried to do, they would have given up a whole bunch of 60-yard plays. So that's one of them. The other one, and probably the most important thing, is that swarming Chanticleer pass rush overwhelmed BYU's pass protection too much. And the clock in Zach Wilson's head had to speed up. There were so many times when he had open guys, but he couldn't get to them because he was too busy trying to avoid being sacked. There were other times when he had open guys that he didn't see because he wanted to get the ball out quickly, because so much of the time he had to get that ball out quickly, and that disrupted the rhythm between quarterback and receivers.
It certainly is a disappointing loss on all fronts. BYU goes down. So now let's look ahead and see what's in store for BYU.
Let's look ahead. I do want to look ahead, but I do want to say one thing, Jaron. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The clock in Zach Wilson's head, though, is why they didn't score that final touchdown. He dropped back to pass. He saw his receiver inside the 10 and got the ball out right now. Ironically, he had great pass protection on that. He had plenty of time to scan the field. This was the last play of the game. Had he taken an extra beat, the running back leaked out of the backfield to the left sideline, and he was wide open. The defense busted the coverage. No one was covering him. And if Zach felt like he could have a normal rhythm in the pocket, it may be that he would have seen that and he would have hit him for the game-winning touchdown. Instead, he saw somebody open. He knew so often he didn't have time to throw, and he thought, I got to get the ball out now or I might not get it out. Ball goes out there, tackled a yard short of the goal line when the game-winning touchdown receiver was wide open watching the play on the left sideline. I don't blame Zach for this. I think it was a good choice for him to get the ball out to an open guy while he could, but all that pass rush by Coastal Carolina's defense that sped up his clock for the game coming up to that point, sped up that clock in his head at that point, and the opportunity that could have won the game was missed.
Shades of Super Bowl 34 with the Rams and Titans, and Kevin Dyson, a Ute, reaching out and not getting it as Dax Milne stopped at the 1 yard line. So nationally, the narrative was, oh man, what a great game. This was fun. This was awesome. Good job by both teams. But we sit here on the BYU end and go, well, yeah, but BYU lost and the perfect season's over. So where do the Cougars go from here, in your opinion? Because I think there's still a lot to play for. It's not the special New Year's Six Heisman finalist kind of which might still happen, the Heisman finalist thing, but New Year's Six is dead. I still think there's something to play for. It's just not the mega New Year's Six season we were hoping for.
They can still have a magical one-loss season, and the team that they lost to was in a crazy COVID last-second perfect storm of difficulty for BYU to go win, because once again, the preparation for that offense is really, really difficult. And I think, though, a one-loss season, if they're able to pull it off, would still be a magical season. And they should get full credit for a magical season. The thing they'll need to do, though, is make sure that Coastal Carolina doesn't beat them twice, because this San Diego State team is legit. Their defense is solid. Keep in mind that they had a last-second game against Colorado, and at the time, Colorado was the leading scoring team, the best offense in the Pac-12, and San Diego State's defense held them to just 20 points. Now, they lost the game, but they held them to just 20 points. So this is a legitimate threat to BYU if they don't come into this game with all their focus and all their emotion and energy fully deployed. So where to go from here? Well, first they've got to beat San Diego State. Then we'll see who they play in the bowl game, and they have a chance to finish it out and to be very proud of what they accomplished in a COVID-crazed season that for BYU was probably crazier from a standpoint of scheduling and travel and everything else than any other team in the country.
Yeah, it's been an unbelievable ride on all fronts. Just the fact that BYU was playing and has played as many games as they've played. There's just a handful of teams that have played 10 games. Only 6 teams in BYU history have had 1 or no losses. So or 5, it'd be the 6th. And then BYU's only finished ranked 6 times this century, would be the 6th. So there's still a lot to play for in that regard. But like you mentioned, San Diego State coming up Saturday. And then we don't know if BYU's going to schedule another game December 19th. And then who knows what bowl game. It won't be a New Year's Six, but BYU football still a couple of games left. And that's good news, because guess what? Not everyone's playing. Not everyone's playing in basketball. But here BYU is with just 1 canceled game so far and still potentially 2 games left.
Yep, and always remember this too, that some people have certainly emotionally for BYU fans, it feels like BYU failed in this game. I think it was more that Coastal Carolina came out on fire and they made one more play than BYU. And this feeling that, okay, well, BYU wasn't good enough. No, I think Coastal Carolina is better than people thought. And BYU still was 1 yard away from winning that game, or see the wide open running back on the left sideline from winning that game. So the difference in emotion from what it would have been had they made that last play to what it was when they didn't make that last play is an enormous chasm, enormous. But in terms of the play on the field, it was that close. It was that close. And I think they should get the credit for that close rather than have to deal with the being painted with the emotion because it fell short.
Do you feel like Zach Wilson has dropped out of the top 5 in the Heisman conversation, or did he stay there after that performance?
No, I think he dropped out of the top 5. And the reason is that, he didn't do as well as he could have. And his team didn't help him enough on offense for the first, 58 minutes, 59 minutes of that game. There were some plays left on the field that a Heisman winner or a Heisman top 5 guy would have been expected to have made. Now, I think he is a Heisman top 5 guy, but I'm talking about what voters will think and what voters will see. Because really, this isn't about what he deserves. It's about what 900 voters thinks he deserves. And they're looking for a reason to move people up and move people down. And had that last play scored a touchdown, that would have been his Heisman moment. And those 900 voters would have said, yep, there's his Heisman moment. But because it fell a yard short, enough of those Heisman voters, 900 people, will say, okay, there was his Heisman moment, and they fell short. Therefore, I'm looking for somebody else. And that's the way that some of the voters, or at least enough of the voters, think. So I don't think his Heisman worthiness changes at all. As a matter of fact, I think it should be considered to be similar or the same because he did take the team down for that drive that fell a yard short. After the offense had struggled so much for the entire rest of the game, he rose to that moment and he led them down there. They were a yard short. But that yard will be enough of an excuse for a lot of voters to drop him out of that top 5, I think.
And then Tuesday night with the voters on the College Football Playoff Committee, where do you think BYU ends up being ranked tomorrow night?
Well, they'll fall below Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina was at 18. They'll probably go up about 5 points spots. I think BYU will probably drop down 5 or 6 spots. If they watch the game, which I think they would have because they do watch the games, they will see that both teams played neck and neck. And it came down to the very end. And that's the kind of game that in the past, the committee has rewarded the team that won, but they haven't horribly penalized the team that lost.
Trevor, we appreciate the time, man. BYU loses for the first time, but San Diego State coming up Saturday, and then we'll see what bowl game the Cougars playing.
Yeah, this feels terrible right now, but this is still a great football team.
Thanks, Trevor.